Aloha, it's Robert, and I'm here with my wing foiling friends.
Jeff Chang.
Daniel Kahanui. Here, Hamasaki.
All right, so we're gonna do another voiceover. We have a video. We're gonna play the video and talk about our experience and hopefully give you guys some good tips about foiling and getting started with wing foiling, which is a super fun sport that we're all hooked on. So here's Jeff getting started.
Here I am starting out kind of near the beach. I'm on a 50 by 27 by 82 liter board. It's kind of sinky, almost up to my ankles when I'm trying to just stand on it. So what you see here is I pointed the board downwind. That helps you balance better and be able to get the wing in your hand. And I try to get the wing in my hand as soon as possible and get to the correct rungs so that I can then balance. Once you get the wing in your hand, it's pretty easy to balance without holding the board. And then once you have that position, you can turn the board sideways to the wind and then one foot up, then the other, and then pump up to foil. At this spot, it's really shallow, so you got to get up to foil really quickly. So it's important to get the wing in your hands in the proper position as soon as possible. And another thing here, you see me riding back in after a jibe, and I try to go switch. So this is not my normal stance. This is goofy foot, but I'm a regular foot. So I found that if you can learn to ride switch, you can point upwind better, and so I tried to learn that as soon as I could, and just by switching to that stance whenever I am going that direction or that the wind's blowing.
Okay, so that's me riding. This was a pretty windy day, so I'm using my 4-meter size duotone wing, and I have a 5.2 Blue Planet Carver foil board, and in this video, I'm using the Levitaz Shaka foil with a super long mast. I think the mast is 96 centimeters, which is about 3 feet, 34 or 35 inches, something like that. So it has a super long mast, and that week I was using it pretty much every day, and I'm really enjoying it. And having a lot of clearance with a tall mast is really fun, actually. It felt really good. I really enjoy that longer mast, and it also has a relatively thin profile, which allows for pretty high speeds. The foil size I think is 1,500 square centimeters, which is a good size. But I think I would actually even like a slightly smaller wing than that, maybe for riding waves and stuff. But the Levitaz Shaka foil has been super fun to ride. I'll talk more about it later.
So I'm different from Rob. I'm on a kind of short mast. It's 28, and so because the swells have some pretty high peaks and valleys, I have to keep my board pretty low to the water so I don't breach. Sometimes it even touches, and then it pops back up. So here you see me doing a jibe, and I'm not sure if I'm going to try to switch, but I try to switch stance whenever I jibe so that I'm going in not my normal stance. It's not that easy to do, but there you see I was on a switch stance. Eventually I get there.
So when you switch stance, that's so you can have the wing in front of you versus behind you? Is that what you?
Yeah, you're not all twisted up, and then you can, the main reason is because you can point higher into the wind, and then also your back leg gets a rest. When I'm always in that same position, my back leg gets kind of like tired after a while. It gets pumped, you know. So it gives your back leg a rest. That's another advantage.
And this right here is like the front side with the wing, yeah? You're not twisted up.
Yeah.
I think this day I was using a front foot strap, but not a back foot strap. I was riding totally strapless for a while, which I actually really enjoyed too. But then I ended up putting both straps on again, just because I like to be able to jump. You know, when you don't use foot straps, you can't really jump. You just lose your board, right? So I like using the straps, but using the board strapless is also really fun. And here you can kind of see, well, sometimes like having the long mast, you can go pretty high off the water and not have to worry about breaching, which is pretty cool. So you also going out over choppy water, you don't have to worry about like staying close to the water surface as much. You know, it just when you would usually breach with a shorter mast, you still got plenty of room left with that really long mast. So it kind of makes up for the chop going up and down underneath you when you're going out, having that long mast. It's maybe a little bit harder to get it going at first, just because the foil is deeper underwater, so it's a little bit different. Especially, I think for when you're catching a wave, it's going to be harder to get it up on foil. But with the wing, you have that extra power, so it's almost more like tow foiling, where you can definitely use a longer mast, and it's not as much of a disadvantage as when you're catching waves or surfing. So I would say my main thing when I wouldn't use a long mast is really only with wing foiling, only if it's shallow. You know, if it's too shallow to use a really long mast, I would say then that's the only time I would switch to a shorter mast. So, but for otherwise, I really like using that long mast. Here's Derek.
Well, that's a kite thing. Yeah, with the long mast, you can, maneuver through all those valleys and, those mountains out at sea and stuff like that. But you also can, when the wind is super strong, you can just find out what is your maximum speed. Something, I guess, if it's too short, it might breach too easy, on those seas like that. But with the long one, you can just hold on, point at that ultimate direction, and just get as much speed as you can go. And sometimes it's frightening. You go so fast, you just go, holy smokes, I better slow down, or else it's gonna be hectic, But right now you just try to fly out, turn around, and chase the swell down. Try to see what you can catch. A lot of these are wind swells, so not really breaking. We're trying to just look for that, or here on, what is that, backside?
Yeah.
And see how I'm all twisted and stuff like that, so it's just funky. But ultimately you want to catch the ground swell and ride that swell and surf it in, but sometimes they just cross up. With the ground swell coming in and then that wind swell, just sometimes it cancels itself out. So you gotta ride it as far as you can, and then just see what becomes of it. And if it doesn't, then just turn around. The great thing about the wing is you can just turn around and just kind of like an Uber and take yourself right back out and out to the surf, out to the waves, and just go find the next swell, turn around, and come back in. Just like how Robert is doing right there.
Yeah, so this spot here has like a really mellow wave. It's not a very steep or fast wave, but in a way it's perfect for learning how to ride waves on a foil, because you really don't want a wave to be too steep and fast, because it's just hard to do on a foil, especially when you're kind of starting out and you got the wing to work with and everything else. So I would say this spot is really fun place to kind of work on your wave riding technique, wing foiling technique. Here's Derek again.
I think I might have been on the GL 180 on this one. It was a little more difficult to stay at speed with the waves. I mean, once in the surf, it was great, but out in the open ocean where it just was traveling and not so much height on the swell, that I couldn't keep up with it. I would have to always have my wing in my hand. But as soon as you get into the surf zone, then you can really surf it out and stuff like that.
Yeah, it looks like you can do really tight turns with that wing, yeah. Daniel, you were out there too with us, right?
Yeah, I was out there somewhere. I think this is a place where I ended up, I couldn't get as far up as they were, and I kept getting blasted and drifting down over the shallow reef, so I kind of just flipped over my board and went right over those reefs back there somewhere, and then paddled in, and then walked the beach and came back out again.
So going upwind with your body all twisted up is definitely a little bit tricky, because it is like such a twisted position with your body. So I just recently I started learning, like I went back to a bigger board and a bigger foil, just to learn how to foil with my goofy foot position with the other foot forward. when you try to do it on a small board and a small foil, it's really hard. I mean, it's like I just couldn't do it. So, but going back to a bigger foil and a bigger board and just doing it in calm water and smoother water, I was able to do it and kind of practice a little bit. So maybe at some point I'll be able to switch my feet back and forth. But especially when you're riding waves, I think actually staying in your same stance, it just allows you to do quicker transitions too, like because you don't have to worry about switching your feet. You can quickly go from one wave into the next wave into the next wave without moving your feet around, So there are some advantages to not switching your feet, but it definitely can get kind of tiring especially if you're going longer distances and if you don't get to like ride a wave where you can relax a little bit. So when you're riding a wave in like this, then you're not all twisted up and the wing isn't pulling on your body. So it's actually, if you're riding the wave in that position and then going back out in your regular stance, it's actually no problem at all not to switch your stance. But Jeff, you switch your stance quite often now.
Yeah.
So maybe talk a little bit about that.
So I first found that we were doing downwinders, like 5 mile downwinders, and my back leg was getting so pumped that I had to just sit on my board and rest. So ever since then, every time I head to shore in this video, that would be when I have to switch stance to goofy foot. So I forced myself to go in goofy foot position on my bigger board when we were first learning. Every time we went to shore, now with my smaller board, I did the same thing. So now I'm getting to the point, and every time we go out, we make huge leaps in progress, which makes it pretty fun. But so here you see me in the goofy foot stance. But every time I go back out and I jibe, what I do is I switch my feet right away by just jumping and putting the 2 feet in the new goofy foot position, and I'm getting better at that. And then a couple times every now and then I can do it in the air so that I actually switch when I'm up on foil. But that's still a work in progress, but it's getting there. Every time I go out, I do 1 or 2, and so that's how you learn. I think you just got to force yourself to do it, which is how I learned it. And now actually pumping up to foil, I actually can do it better on my goofy foot. I don't know why, but it seems to be a lot easier for me now to pump up to foil on the goofy.
Okay. So this is another day. So we had I think we had about 10 or maybe even 12 days in a row where we had good winds. And but on this one I'm on my 5 meter duotone wing, and I think the board and the foil is the same. It's my 5.2 Carver foil board and that Levitaz Shaka foil with the long mast, which I just used that for a week straight just to get used to it, and that was it's a really fun setup. This day we had a little bit more. The sun was out. There's Daniel. How was that day, Daniel?
This day was fun. Certain spots that I go, since I'm a beginner, it's a little bit tricky, especially if you can't get upwind, and or if you have like a little area to even like start off and grab your wing quick enough and pump up and go. It makes it a little tricky, but it pushes me more to get out there and have fun with these guys. So it's all about committing and just going and just keep pushing myself to get where they are.
Yeah, this is definitely not a beginner friendly place. It's actually a great spot, but there's certain areas where you just can't go. It's super shallow, right? And getting out to where the water's deep is pretty hard. Yeah.
Very shallow, and that channel is it's limited space.
Very narrow channel.
Narrow.
Yeah, and that speeded up footage, you could see the channel where you have to kind of go out right by that, there's a little flag sticking out. Yeah, so you have to stay to the left of that.
Yeah. So you pretty much in the beginning of this place is little shallow on the inside, shallow when you get outside on both sides. So you're just going through like a crack in the reef. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And for me, I'm still learning, so I do the paddle of shame. If I can't get up to them, I paddle in right on that side, left side of the beach, and walk.
Yeah. There's Tyler. Thanks for shooting the video. and that's the foil I'm using, the Levitaz foil. It's yeah, that mast is I think about 3 feet long, 96 centimeters I think, and that's my board, the 5.2 Carver foil board. It's 26.5 wide and 98 liter volume I think. And the cool thing about the Levitaz, it has like the stainless steel fuselage. It's all one piece. It goes from the front wing through the mast into the tail wing. Everything screws into that stainless steel fuselage. So it's very rigid and solid. So you can definitely feel that it's very responsive, just having that strong, stiff connection with the stainless fuselage. I thought it feels really good. So I'm pretty excited about this foil. I want to. We're talking about trying it for tow-in foiling as well in bigger waves, maybe with a smaller front wing. So I'm going to ask the guys to see if I can get a smaller front wing to try it on big waves and tow-in foiling with a jet ski. So that it's kind of cheating, but basically when you're towing in, you can use gear that you couldn't really use when you're just paddling. Longer mast, smaller wing, and so on, smaller board.
Yeah, there's no substitute for riding the wave in your normal stance. I think that's always more comfortable. So if like when I do switch, I always, before I start riding the wave, I actually just switch back to my normal stance to ride the wave. And a lot of times what I do now is I make the the board just come down to the ground and touch the water, and then I jump over to the other stance that way, and it's a little easier than trying to do it while it's in the air. That's the stage I'm at now. But you can see Rob, it's a lot more comfortable to ride in your normal stance when you're on the wave. It's a lot more fun too.
There's Herbie, brother Herbie. He was coming in from a downwinder on his unlimited stand-up board. So yeah, it's funny since we started wing foiling, like before we started wing foiling, Derek and Jeff and I used to go out downwind foiling. On the windy days, we'd get excited about going downwind with our paddles and stand-up boards. But it's it's hard work. I mean, it's not easy to catch the bumps when you're paddling into them. And then when we got these wings, the first time we just tried a downwinder with the wings, and compared to using a paddle, it's just so much easier and so much more fun to have a wing, and you can just keep going and be on the foil the whole time, and it's not like you dread coming off the foil because you have to do the hard work all over again, right?
Even when we went and we would crash down or whatever with this hand wing, you stand up and you're waiting for the gust to bring you back up. It wasn't a slog, with the paddle. The paddle, you was just going, oh, come on. And sometimes you would just be there for a few minutes just floating and, waiting for that little bump. But with this wing, it'll always just be pulling you with the wind. And then as soon as you get enough wind behind you, you up and you just flying, you catching up, to everything else. Super fun. We tried doing a downwind race with the regular racers, the stand-up guys and the canoes, and we did well in the beginning. It wasn't that windy, but we took off and was ahead of everybody. But when we came like towards 3/4 way, the winds really died out, and that's when everybody just caught us up,
Yeah, and that race finished at in Waikiki. Yeah. And once we got into the wind shadow of Diamond Head, there was like basically no wind at all.
Yeah.
I ended up actually rolling up my sail and just like paddling back in for probably the last 15 or 20 minutes. I was just paddling on my belly.
Yeah, we were like dead ducks, just sitting around, right at Diamond Head, going, come on.
I know, you kept waiting for another gust to take you in.
Yeah. After you just gotta realize, okay, it's not gonna happen. Give it up, just paddle in,
Here's Jeff with the wing upside down again.
Yeah.
So I guess the trick is making sure. Here I'm trying to get backwinded, which I'm like the other day for the first time I was able to do a 360, like holding the wing into the wind, kind of backwinded, and then just kept turning through the wind and doing a 360, which I guess the next step is to do that on a wave and ride the wave with the wing backwinded. Not quite there yet, but getting there. Here I almost run Jeff over. We're just trying trying to avoid each other barely.
Keeping a distance, right?
Yeah, social distancing right there in action.
Yeah, that's a lot of times trouble is trying to keep those tips out of the water, because once it touches, I mean, you just, it's hard to recover. If you're quick, you can pull it back up, or if it's windy, then you can get out of trouble. But that's the main thing, is just trying to keep those wings out. I know initially the first wings that they had, it was super wide, where it kind of tapered down. And it seems like the newer versions now, you got probably just still the same surface area, but the tips are just like angled in, so that it doesn't touch as much.
Right.
Here you can see Rob is
Like
super efficient. He's just going around and around, in and out, and
You're trying to get it back, but not quite.
but yeah, he's really good at turning on the wave face to jibe to come in, and then also tacking on the way out, so he doesn't actually lose any ground going downwind. Whereas my strategy is to always jibe, because I can't tack yet, and then you lose ground every time you jibe, so I have to go way outside to get back upwind. Whereas you see Rob, he jibes right on the wave, and then when he's done riding the wave going right, he tacks, so he doesn't even lose any ground. In fact, sometimes when he rides the wave, he gains ground upwind, which is super efficient. And so while I'm out there watching him get wave after wave after wave and trying to go back in, that's where you want to be eventually. Do what Rob's doing, is just be super efficient and just right in the wave zone, catching wave after wave.
Yeah, I mean, the trick to getting lots of waves is basically going upwind quickly, so that you can get the next wave without having to make up the ground. And when you come, like I'm really good at tacking on the inside now. Like when I'm on the wave, like this, I basically, to tack, I let go of the backhand, bring the wing over my head, and then try to get it pulling me out the other way, and then quickly turn through the wind so I can go back out without losing my speed. So that's actually another video I'm going to post soon about how to tack. I actually just recently learned to tack the other direction, and I find the trick is to kind of bring the sail over your head almost before you start to turn, or at the same time as you start to turn upwind. So you don't want to turn upwind too much before you bring the wing over your head, and then also bringing it over your head so it starts pulling you the other direction. That's kind of the trick to it. And then yeah, I like holding the wing just with one arm sometimes, just to give my arms a little rest, especially when I'm twisted like that. It's more comfortable just to hold it with one hand. And then of course when you're on the wave, you can just let the wind depower the wing and ride the wave without using the wing.
So there you saw Rob tacking, and he probably got 5 waves while I went out way outside to get upwind. But then here you see me, I came in switch so that I would gain more ground coming back upwind, coming back to shore, rather than when I go twisted, I lose a lot of ground coming in, because it's just a more difficult position to hold.
Oh, here you're switching. Yeah, switch back into the other way.
Oh, it's one of the ones I made.
So when you jibe, you switch your stance before you jibe.
Yes. Yes, that's how I've been able to do it while still in the air, is to switch while I'm still in the going in, hop over, and then make the turn in the regular stance.
And then Jeff has 2 straps on his board, so that way you have 2 straps in the front, 3 straps total. So you have that way you have 2 straps for your front feet. Yeah.
Right. So then when you're going your switch stance, you can still stick it in the strap.
Right. Have you tried using your board without straps?
Yeah, actually that's how I learned to go switch, is with no straps. It's just easier. Then I recently put the straps back on, because we're trying to learn to jump. Yeah, so that's why I put them back on.
Yeah. Now I found that I like using the straps really loose. Like I have mine really big, and sometimes I notice beginners have their straps pretty tight, because I guess they're afraid of getting their feet too far stuck inside. But I just find it way more comfortable, and it's not like I'm in the foot straps super tight. I'm actually just have them kind of loosely in the straps, and I just find it more comfortable. it's more comfortable for my feet and also easier to kick out when I want to eject, to have really loose straps. So I don't know, is that kind of how you do it too? Or?
Yeah, mine are the same way. They're pretty big, and so my feet are sort of swimming in it a little bit, but you still get the control. Like you can push your foot up against the front of it or slide it against the back of it to get control, and then it's way easier to eject if you have to eject. So I think it's safer that way.
So here's some more footage. I think Tyler ran out of drone batteries, so he started filming from the beach. But yeah, this was still, I think, still the same day.
One of the things I noticed when I was sailing side by side with Rob is he has that really thin profile Levitaz, and he was like faster going on the reach, and then I noticed he'd kind of just walk away from me when we're racing upwind. So that kind of shows how the thinner profile wings are faster and able to keep up with the swells better.
That last wave was one of the rare times when I actually breached on that long mast. So I turned into a wave and I couldn't make the drop, and I just breached out in the top of the wave. And when you're up on, like, it felt like I was super high up on top of the wave because that mast is so long. So when you're breaching with a 3-foot mast, it just feels like you're like coming down from super high. But it does kind of prevent like breaching to a certain degree. I mean, like, you know, you have a lot more. It can just get. I like to think of it. It doesn't prevent breaching, but it kind of gives you more rope to hang yourself with, kind of thing. You know, it's like when you do breach, it's more scary for sure. So I don't recommend using a long mast for beginners because it is more dangerous, and I would say it's also more tippy. Like it's a little bit harder to control the foil from that high up. You know, especially when you get close to the water surface with the foil. Then having that long mast can be a liability to, can be more dangerous, I would say, and it's definitely harder to ride, but it does have a lot of advantages, I would say, that long mast.
Oh, like that, going over the wave.
Yeah, so sometimes when I go over the wave, I kind of turn into the face to kind of go more upwind, and then once I come off the top, then I turn back downwind again to kind of gain more speed again. But kind of when you're going up the face, you can use the energy of the wave to kind of push you upwind.
Project you sideways.
Yeah,
Like a little profile vehicle or something. Go over a speed bump.
Yeah, I don't know why it works, but I used to do that with the windsurf board, and I found that on the face of the wave I can really turn upwind, and it kind of pushes me into the wind. So it's like an easy way to gain some upwind. And actually another good thing that's good about the longer mast is that you can kind of angle your foil more into, like, see how my board's kind of angled into the wind? That helps to go upwind too, like not just keeping your foil flat in the water,
right,
but actually angling the foil upwind so you get more kind of, I don't know, just angling into the wind. And when you watch kite foilers, they really angle their boards and their foils upwind when they're going upwind. They just got a steep angle to the water.
Yeah, as you continue to watch this video, you see when Rob does a jibe like that to go back out, he loses like maybe 25 feet to downwind, but when he tacks, he actually gains 5 feet. So he's actually like 30 or 40 feet more upwind just by doing that one upwind tack when he finishes the wave, which that's kind of a huge advantage, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps staying upwind. But I think once you get efficient at going upwind, then it's not like this spot here too. Like if you go pretty far outside, like the wind gets stronger and the waves are really rough and stuff. The water's more rough, so I actually find it almost harder to go upwind once I'm outside. When I stay inside. Almost. When I stay more inside and where it's more a little bit smoother on the inside, I'm actually able to kind of go upwind at a steeper angle and then catch the wave and go upwind on the wave. So I just try to kind of stay more inside and not go too far outside at that spot. Now this is a different spot where I used to windsurf all the time. The thing is, you can't really go out here from the beach because there's a really big shallow reef on the inside, so it's hard to get out there. So the only time I get to ride this wave is when we do Downwinders from Hawaii Kai going downwind. And then I kind of go downwind to that wave and get a few waves there. But you can see it's a much more defined wave. It's like it forms like longer walls, and it's smoother and really fun for wing foiling there at this spot. And I think that park is closed, so Tyler was parking kind of on the side of the road, and he got kicked out by the security guard. So Derek came to that spot, but I think he didn't get any footage of you riding there. And but that day was super fun. Had some nice waves, and the sun came out. It was like one of those days where it was like raining in the morning, and we thought it would be all rained out and no good for wing foiling, and then it turned out to be a beautiful day, and had pretty good winds. And that's the day we had that big group of guys going downwind, right? Everybody came. Probably had like, how many, 10 or 15 guys going. So it's pretty cool. Like a lot of the guys that are into prone foiling or stand-up foiling, they're all getting into the wing foiling now, and it is kind of like starting foiling all over again. That stoke you get from it. And
yeah, I know there's some people that try it. That's not 100% dedicated. They'll stop just because it's so humbling and it's that hard. And then, you know, you get those other addicts like us who just goes, you know what, I'm in. I'm gonna figure this out. We're gonna do this together, and you know, and then eventually you get something like this, and you know, well, not like that, but you know,
but that's part of it too.
Yeah,
if you don't wipe out, then you're not gonna get better, probably, right?
Yeah, exactly. You learn, you know, I'm sure he learned from that. Like, oh, okay, I shouldn't have done that or whatever. Yeah. But what is your some of your tips? Like, say if you fail or whatever, and you just caught inside, what would you scenario-wise for you guys? Yeah,
so this spot is tricky because you don't want to go straight in. Like if you go straight in with the wave, it gets really shallow on the inside. So I think this is a different day again, but yeah. So that spot, you kind of have to know where the channel is and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean you kind of basically want to avoid getting into that position with the wing foil board. You basically want to try to kick out and kind of keep an eye on what's coming from behind you, like the next wave behind you. You want to be always on the biggest wave of the set, or just kick out before you get in the impact zone if you can. Because especially with the wing and the foil, I mean that week too, I got the tail wing punctured a hole through my wing, and that's pretty common. That you know, the wing punctures or the foil punctures your wing pretty easily, so it's kind of a bummer when that happens. But that's all the footage we got today. Only half an hour or so. Thanks for sticking around the whole time, and thanks for watching the video. And we'll have more videos coming soon. Thanks for tuning in to the Blue Planet Surf YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the water. Aloha.
Aloha.